Boom. Okay. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mosa from the Homies Hub. I wanted to do a quick video on international living, being an expat, and just some of the things that you should consider before you move overseas or want to make a jump overseas. So as I've come out as a younger expat, been living overseas now for the past year and a half, or going into 2026. And basically I've lived in South America and I've lived in Asia. I've been living in Asia now for about 4 months. I lived in South America for about 9 months. And I can basically give you guys kind of what you should do to kind of just get straight to it, right? We're gonna break it down in a few parts, but number one, we're gonna start with income. I think before we even talk about coming overseas, we need to talk about how you're going to sustain yourself and then choosing continents to actually live in. Even though countries and things do vary, I do think that you should consider what continent you're going to live in because you're probably going to want to visit other countries, and you should know the ease of what it is to move from country to country to country, right? So continents that you should consider living in, and then obviously so far my top tier choices of countries to live in, with me currently now being in Asia, I think it is something you definitely want to pay attention to. So let's get into it. So we're talking about the best continents to basically live in as a traveler, right? And I think one of the things that I'm basically thinking about and I've been doing my comparisons on is Asia and South America. So as you may know, I've been living in Asia now for about 4 months. And prior to that, I was living in Colombia, South America for about 9 months. I moved between Colombia and Peru. And I would probably say I really like South America. I love the Spanish speaking culture. I love everything about, just being in a culture like that. Obviously, we love Latinas. We can't say that we don't love Latinas. The food and just, but there was so much more to that. It's just like medically, a lot of things to handle medically are pretty up to par with what you would get in the US, if not even past that. And you get it for a fraction of the price. And I think that's something that people need to really pay attention to. I've been able to really take good care of my teeth, straighten them. Overall, just overall aesthetics have gotten better. Treatment is cheaper. Things that you need to improve your health is cheaper. You can buy it over the counter. There's a lot of opportunities and things when you come to South America. Colombia there's strong benefits to being here, and there are going to be some trade-offs, right? Like South America, I want to say is probably more dangerous than other continents, especially Colombia. It has an extremely high crime rate. Obviously, we have the narcos and then the cartel, and then we just have like the corrupt politicians. That is something real that you do have to deal with and that you do have to understand before you make the decision of living somewhere, right? Because when you are a foreigner, you have zero protections, especially in a place like Colombia. They don't expect to protect you. They expect you to protect yourself and be smart and try not to get yourself in trouble. But the problem is that if you were to handle trouble the way they would handle trouble, well, you're going to be facing consequences because there's just certain things that you can't do here. So they're not really fitted to try to protect you in a certain sense. But I will say that the care that you can receive here, the love and the support is definitely great. And I would say a lot of people do jump to help you when you are in South America, specifically Colombia. Now, Peru, I would say is not as dangerous for foreigners as it is in Colombia. Still a ton of opportunities, slightly more, or just definitely more expensive living inside of Peru. And these are really the only two countries in South America that I've been in. But like I said before, when it comes to Colombia, it's a cheat code, and I'll definitely go in depth more and break things down more in detail in members. So make sure that you guys join the HomiesHub.com. Make sure that you join memberships and browse some of those members only videos. We do have an app coming out soon. So, it's going to be a social app where we're going to share everything from multiple people that are either traveling or living overseas, share moments, interact. It's a platform for men to basically come together as a tight-knit community with some social aspects like videos and tweets and things like that. And we also have incorporated a crypto wallet. So I definitely would like for you guys to be a part of that. Join the community. The link is down below. Make sure that you guys tap in and get ready for this app launch. It's going to be great. Now, Asia. Oh man. We're in Asia now. As you guys can see, I'm in a very nice condo right now. And I would have to say I'm in love with Asia. I love Asia. I love the people. I love the people from the Philippines. I love the people from Japan. I love the people in Thailand. And these are the 3 countries I've been to so far. And I'm sure it'll be the same when I go to some of these other countries. I think Asia is definitely a place to build. You know, compared to South America, it's definitely a place for you to chill, relax. It's very laid back, a lot of leisure, especially a place just like Colombia. You know, they're not really time sensitive when it comes to things inside of Colombia. So, you know, I wouldn't say it's a place to build business because you're going to be dependent on a lot of moving parts that are going to operate on their own. But coming from a first world country where we're very time sensitive, time is money, I think Asia is definitely a better place to be. For number one, I feel safer. I felt extremely safe in Thailand. I can walk through alleys and back alleys, and it's not in people's nature to cause people random harm. I think most of the harm or the crime that occurs in Thailand is in extreme poverty places or really just foreigners. So I felt extremely safe in Thailand. I felt like people were on point, people were on time. You know, people definitely gave me some great service. And I would say the same is even more so in Japan. Transportation is extremely reliable. They're definitely time sensitive, very clean, very structured country. And I think that, you know, obviously they don't just let foreigners in. You have to speak very good Japanese and be respectful and know their culture. And of course, because they're the leading country in the world when it comes to technology, they're building a lot of amazing things. But just think about what I'm telling you. I'm mentioning Thailand and Japan almost in the same breath because they're really just a short flight away, about 5 to 6 hours. The flight won't be more than $200 to $300 one way, and you'll already be in Japan. So you can be living in Thailand for cheap and fly to Japan to do business trips for pretty cheap and get pretty far. And now that brings me to the Philippines. The Philippines at first, I wasn't really feeling it because I feel like there was a lot of poverty, especially in Manila. However, now that I'm actually here in the Philippines, connected with some people, I'm in Angeles City currently, I would have to say, honest to God, that there is so much opportunity in the Philippines. For number one, obviously the cost of living is much lower, wages are much lower, so you can hire assistants, remote assistants. They have call centers, sales call centers. They have manufacturing plants where they're basically manufacturing for some of the biggest and most expensive brands on the planet. That's happening right here in this city. So you can only imagine, if you know how to do business, you have an idea and you want to make it happen, you can get it going for a fraction of the price. You can fly to Japan and do some official business. You can always go to Thailand, where there are tons of black expats that actually own businesses there. Granted, do keep in mind that in a lot of these countries, foreigners are not able to own more than 50% of anything. And that's something that you guys do want to look into, because that is a downfall of Asia, right? Especially, I will speak more so for Thailand. I think it's the same for the Philippines. I think in Japan, you can own whatever it is you purchase, but some of these other places, you're not able to own things unless you marry a local in the country. But that will mean a lot. That will probably have to have its own video where I have to go into. But besides that, the possibilities here in Asia are endless, right? And this is, if you're, like I said, if you're trying to build something, the possibilities are absolutely endless, and it's much safer. Now, I can go into some of the negative parts, right? Which I think I've already listed a couple, but we can actually go over it as it comes to South America or Colombia, and then living in Asia or Thailand, Philippines, and then Japan. And I think they kind of have the same issue, right? Some of the pros and some of the cons, real quick. I gave you guys the cons and the pros of just doing business and building and things like that. But obviously, if you're living in a country, you're going to want to socially connect. You're going to want to date. You're going to want to find love to some extent, depending on whatever your situation is. And if you're coming here as a single person, you should know that all of these cultures that I'm mentioning to you have some sense of tribalism, some sense, even if it's extremely acute. Thailand, I've seen it the least. Philippines, I've seen it the least. But in Colombia and Japan, I've seen it the most. Specifically for Colombia, they look at foreigners like foreigners. It's almost as if you will never be able to truly be one of them because you're not Colombian. Even if they love you, and I would say personally, from my own personal kind of experience, they do not really care that much about skin color when you have an American passport, right? And they have not been exposed to the racist side of, you know, the U.S. and Europe, because a lot of these like Colombians that have been to the U.S., they do embrace some very like racist ideas because they think that's what's going to make them fit in the most. These are basically the Latinos that try to be white. They do embrace a lot of racism towards blacks, but the ones that don't, that U.S. passport circumvents all levels of racism. They really could care less because they know that you have more, but they will never let you in. And that's kind of funny because it's almost the same when you come to Japan, right? Like, if you don't speak fluent Japanese, if you're not very embraced into their culture, they almost don't really accept you. It's like you're different. They might accept you 98%, but there's 2% of them that just won't because you're different. And maybe that's the same in every culture, but it is something that I've definitely noticed. I didn't spend too much time in Japan, but talking to people that's lived there for years, they're able to share the same sentiments that I was able to pick up in only 2 weeks of being there. Thailand, I would say that I don't feel that in Thailand. I feel that people in Thailand don't necessarily care where you're from. They care more about you as a person and you as, you know, like an individual. I've seen more Thai women with, you know, black husbands, white husbands, Indian. It doesn't really seem like they're trying to separate themselves, but I do feel that in some of these other places I go to. The Philippines, I'm a little bit unsure. It does seem to me they do kind of favor white men a bit. I've heard a lot of really bad stories when it comes to black men, but we'll have to look more into that. And then where else? What other countries have I basically mentioned? Yeah. As for Peru, I couldn't really tell you yet. I don't think I was able to really engage too much as I should have inside of Peru. But like I said, these are only a few countries out of many, 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 many countries on these continents. I definitely encourage you guys to explore. Join the HomiesHub, join the Homies app, share your personal life experience. Obviously, those of us that are building our lives and still want to add and figure things out, would love to hear from you guys. I hope this video was helpful. I hope my thoughts weren't too jumbled up for you guys. And please tap in, hit the like button, subscribe, join the community. Peace.